Hey, it's Kimberly, and welcome back to the Supporting Autism Mama podcast. We have taken what feels like a very long sabbatical from podcasts, but we're back at it in 2026 and ready to go. And this month, we're going to start off strong. Our theme is For the Love of Sleep. I know as parents of children on the autism spectrum, sleep is such a hard thing to come by. And so, what I have been doing during my time off on the podcast is working on becoming a pediatric sleep coach. I've designed my very own program called the Rest and Reset. And today I'm going to talk about that program as well as several other things that I will just be diving into in the month of February. All right, so let's talk about the Rest Reset program. I was looking out there at the sleep coach programs that are available. I noticed that there was a gap in the market. There's lots of sleep coaches out there. There's lots of sleep programs out there, but they're all tailored to neurotypical children, like most other things we run into, right? And I knew that I could find a way to bridge the gap. I am a mother of four. I have two, possibly three children on the autism spectrum. The third one at least has some sensory things going on, still wakes up screaming several times a night. So I know a thing or two about sensory processing. I know a little bit about just raising children on the autism spectrum. And I do have that nursing background. So I know the importance of evidence-based practice. So I knew that I could take all of these things and all of these talents that God has blessed me with and be able to create something that would not only help my family and hopefully, knock on wood, help my 3-year-old start sleeping through the night, but also be able to help other families in the process. And so I went and dove in and I got my pediatric sleep coach certification. And basically what this is I just took a course and I learned the things that I didn't know to help me bridge the gap in my knowledge. And I learned a lot of things about the science behind sleep. As parents, we kind of already know that the sleep helps our children to regulate better. Sleep helps us to develop some of those cognitive and developmental abilities. And so sleep is so important, especially for children who struggle with speech, who struggle with those developmental goals, who struggle with ADLs. Sleep is one of the things that can really help them and really help to improve their life. And so I knew that this was something that my audience and myself struggle with, and I wanted to find a way to bridge that gap. Taking that course really gave me the confidence that I needed in order to get this out here for you too. So let's just go through what happens in the Rest Reset program. So the Rest Reset program starts like this. First, I'm going to send you a sleeping questionnaire. I'm going to ask you lots of questions about your kiddo, lots of sensory related questions, lots of questions about your environment, different activities that you do every day. I kind of want to know what's happening when you go to put your kiddo down for bed at night, or what happens in the middle of the night when they do wake up in the middle of the night. Are you having a hard time going to sleep? Are you having a hard time staying asleep? What specifically is going on? Once we understand that, I'm able to develop a different system for you. So the gap that I saw in the market, there's a lot of making sure they have the right bedtime routine, even making sure that we have a good after bedtime routine. But the gap that I saw was that time during the day. So regulation for sleep does not start when you lay down to go to sleep at night. Regulation to start sleeping starts the moment that you wake up and open your eyes for the day. And so my sleep program starts there. First, we're going to answer that sleeping questionnaire, and then I'm going to walk you through your environment. Is your environment built up for success? There are lots of things that you can do just in that to help promote a better sleep. Are there toys crowding the area? Do you have a specific section in the room maybe for toys? Do they have a specific place that they sleep and they know that's where they need to sleep at night? And then if you have like a little reading corner, that needs to be in a separate area, separate from the bed. We don't want to read a book on the bed and then just go to sleep. We can read a book for our bedtime routine. In fact, I encourage it, but it needs to be not in the same place your kiddo sleeps. There needs to be a very distinct distinction between where we sleep, where we play, where we read, where we eat. The bed is for sleep. And so if you're going to do anything this week, that's the first thing I would do is make sure that the environment is set up for success. The next thing that we do in my Rest Reset program is we go over and create what I call a support cycle. So, a support cycle is that cycle that I talked about. So, when you first wake up in the morning, that's when regulation for sleep begins. If our body is not regulated, we're constantly going to be in that state of fight or flight, and we're not going to be able to sleep at night. And so, we need to find a way to regulate throughout the day. With the support cycle, what I do in this program, if you decide to get one on one coaching with me, one of the things that we really dive into is when do they have therapy? When do they have school? When are the non negotiable in your schedules? And then we work around those to add in learning, to add in practice with our ADLs, to add in that sensory regulation. And we're going to find sensory regulation that's tailored to your specific child because sensory regulation is not one size fits all. Not everyone needs a sensory swing like my 7-year-old. Not everyone needs a Chewy like my 7-year-old. And then not everyone needs those noise canceling headphones like my 9-year-old. Everyone's sensory profile is different and unique to them. And so we need to dive into that in order to give you the best sensory routine, sensory diet, whatever verbiage you want to use to set up in your home to set you up for success. In this last support cycle that I just made, a simple day was if they had therapy at noon, we would wake up at whatever their wake time is. So we're going to figure out what your child's natural awake time is. That's one of the first steps that we do. Once we understand what time your child naturally wakes, that's when we start our support cycle. So if they wake up naturally at 7:30 in the morning, then at 7:30 in the morning, we're going to start that support cycle. And it might look like we ease into our day. We're not necessarily going to have a big, strong activity at 7:30 in the morning, but we're going to have something in place. Another thing that is very important about these support cycles is they're just that. They're meant to support both you and your child, which is why I titled it that. And so it's not going to be a strict minute by minute schedule. Instead, I want it to be a flow of different ideas. So when we first wake up, maybe we wake up for the day, we have some sensory regulation, maybe we do some deep pressure, some stretches, read a book, whatever it is going to help your child to ease into their day. Then maybe we're going to have some breakfast and connection. So we're going to sit down and eat some food, maybe make sure we get our vitamins, whatever we're working on when it comes to eating. Are we physically needing help with eating? That's something that we can set a goal for at the table. Are we needing to try new foods? Well, maybe we can introduce a feeding therapy plate at that time. We can work this to tailor to your specific child so you have the right support cycle in your home. Because once you're able to meet those developmental goals, those that set of learning, the ADLs that they need to meet, and then also that sensory regulation, it's going to help to ease them into that bedtime routine. We don't just have an unstructured day and then we go into the bedtime routine and it's just magic and fixes everything like that. The regulation for getting to that bedtime routine starts the moment they wake up. And so when you get this rest reset program, that's the first thing that we walk you through is the importance of that support cycle. Once we understand the support cycle and we have that established, we do that for the first week that we're together. When I do one-on-one coaching calls, I like to have a meeting earlier in the week, Tuesday or Wednesday. And then I like to give you the rest of that week to set up your sleeping environment for success. We have a conversation about your sleeping environment and say what we can do to set you up for success at nighttime. So we have the rest of the week to set up the sleeping environment. The following week, we establish that support cycle and we try to start implementing that every day. The following week is when we lean into our bedtime routine. Again, everyone's bedtime routine is going to look a little different, but it's going to be a little bit more structured than that support cycle. The bedtime routine can be, hey, we're going to ease into bedtime. So our bodies naturally are going to start increasing our melatonin production when those lights go off. So first thing in the beginning of the day, when we want to wake up our bodies for that support cycle, we turn on those bright lights. Well, at nighttime, we're going to do the opposite. To help prepare our children for bedtime, we're going to maybe dim off the lights, turn on the lamps, maybe get those olfactory input going and maybe start an essential oil. We like to use eucalyptus at 7:30 every night. I put some eucalyptus in our oil diffuser and start dimming the lights and adding the lamps. And that helps to ease my children into bedtime routine. Before I verbally say any words, it starts to prepare them for bedtime routine. After you've had that cue, then we can move on to the next thing. Maybe you watch a show, you read a book, we start baths. And then at bath time, if we have that one-on-one coaching, that's another thing that we can work on together. Maybe there's some things that your child really struggles with in the bathroom. Maybe there's some sensory components we can work on in the bathroom. Do you have visual schedules? Do you have visual timers all set up in the bathroom so that your child is set up for success? My children really like those bath sponges instead of the loofahs, and they love those microfiber towels instead of those rough towels that you can just get at the store. And those simple changes, just those two, made meltdowns happening every time we took a bath to, okay, we tolerate a bath. Some days they even like the bath. There's different sensory components, different ways we can make bath time sensory friendly to help you get over that hump. Everything is individualized. Baths are a great way, though, to again let the body know that it's time to relax. You can use different essential oils, again, in the bathtub. It's always a personal preference. We do have brands that I like that I'll share with you, but find what works best for your family. Bath time is, again, a great way to tell your body through visual input, through auditory input, through olfactory input, that it is almost time for bed. Once you ease over the bath time, then we can add different steps, whatever works best for your family. Did you also know that red lights actually help to increase our melatonin production? And so again, at night when I go to dim all the lights, I turn on a red light in the sensory room. So while they're calming down for the night, their bodies are naturally starting to increase that melatonin production, which for our kiddos is a big deal. The next step in the bedtime routine could be, let's sit down and read a book. Let's sit down in a spot that's not the bed and read a story. So we're going to establish a bedtime routine specific for your child. We're going to work with your family to establish what you think is going to work best for your household, but also based on some evidence-based practice, both the research I've done and then my actual lived experience. And I'm going to try to bridge those gaps so we can help bridge that gap in your home as well. After the bedtime routine, we have something that's called the after bedtime routine. The after bedtime routine is anytime your child awakes in the middle of the night. So every child has a sleep association. A sleep association, and I say child, every person has a sleep association. A sleep association is literally exactly what it sounds like. It's anything that we associate with sleep. So, when we're really little, it could be our favorite blanket, it could be a stuffed animal. For a lot of our kiddos, sleep associations are often you, mom, dad, caregiver, grandparent, whoever puts them to sleep consistently. A lot of times we see that they climb into bed with them to put them to sleep, and then they wake up screaming in the middle of the night because mom and dad aren't there. And they won't go back to sleep until that parent is in the bed with them, which would be okay, except for we know as caregivers that one of our primary jobs is to make sure that our cups are filled so that we can help fill their cups. One of the best ways that we can make sure that we're filling both of our cups is by getting a good amount of sleep at night. Sleep associations are okay until they start to interfere with the caregiver's daily routine, the caregiver's ability to be able to help that child. And so we're going to work on a method to be able to help fade out that sleep association. So we start with a certain process from day 1 to 4. We change that up a little bit from day 5 to 7, and so on until we have 2 weeks of that bedtime routine and that after bedtime routine being put into place. Because sleep is a skill. It's something that your child can do, just like brushing their teeth or eating food. Sleep is a skill. It just needs to be taught. And just like everything, our kiddos might need a little extra help. They might need some modeling in their support cycle throughout the day to help them realize what is going to be expected for them at bedtime. I have 2 favorite ways to model in our home. We have several books, not just about bedtime, but about teeth brushing, bathing, getting dressed. We have lots of books that help us learn our ADLs and just have conversations about our ADLs outside of actually doing the task so that it helps your child just be able to be thinking about these things before it's actually expected of them. We also love to use play. Play is a great way to model. So there's this toy put out by Fisher-Price called the Bedtime Routine. I will link it in the description below. It is one of my favorite toys out on the market right now because it just looks like a little bedroom, but it takes the monster, a little monster that it comes with, step by step through eating dinner, and then it takes them into the bathroom where they can take a bath, get dressed, go potty, and then it goes into the bedroom. And so it's a great way to model that bedtime routine that you expect for your child before bedtime routine actually starts. And that is something that we can incorporate into your support cycle so that it's something that you don't even have to think about. You just look at your support cycle and you're like, hey, we need to do some modeling before we go to bed because it's going to help my child prepare and be able to predict for what is going to be expected of them at bedtime. It's a way to naturally just have those conversations. Video modeling is another great thing for bedtime routines. Again, brushing teeth, getting dressed. Video modeling is a great tool. You can just pull up almost anything on YouTube of kids. Usually it's best if you have kids doing these activities for them and be able to show them, hey, this is how Sally brushes her teeth. This is what Bob does when he's starting to get ready for bed. And it allows them to see that bedtime routine is not just for them, bedtime routine is for everybody. And these are the steps that are expected of them. If you want to be really fun, a way that you could practice this is my 9-year-old really likes to make videos and we record him doing different things. A really fun way to use video modeling to teach him a new skill would to be recording him doing it and then allowing him to watch it back, edit it, whatever funny things he wants to add to it. And then when it's time to do that modeling during our support cycle, we can upload that video up on the big screen, just screen mirror it, and then he sees himself in prime time on the TV, but it's just modeling that behavior. It's going to help you and them be able to develop that new skill that they need. I really made the Rest Reset program with you guys in mind. I really tried to add things that I think are missing from other curriculums. There's an area in here about transitioning from the crib and how sometimes it does need to happen a little bit later for our children on the autism spectrum. And I talk about those tent beds. We used to have one of those for my 7-year-old and how fantastic that can be if that's a cue for your child that they need to stay in bed, if that's something that they really need to work on. And so there's some points in here and some different things that I tried to add to just bridge that gap because I know there's always such a gap between our neurotypical friends and then sometimes our children on the autism spectrum. And I wanted to be able to find something that you could use in your home to help bridge those gaps. The Rest Reset program, I do offer 3 tiers for my coaching program. Tier number 1, you get the packet handout, a video very similar to this one, but you'll also get texting communication with me for up to 4 weeks. For tier 2, you will get all of that. Plus, you'll also get a group call that we'll do twice a month. The first time we'll be kind of walking you through the program and what is expected. And then in the next coaching call, we'll get on and we'll be like, hey, how's it going? And you'll be able to meet with up to 10 other parents and be able to have conversations about sleep in your home and maybe different things that we've trialed and erred. For our tier 3, our highest tier, that is that one-on-one coaching. So that's when I'm going to work with you to not only give you the information to set up a support cycle on your own, set up a bedtime routine on your own, but be able to do that for you, have a real conversation with you, and to be able to know and decide what your child's sensory profile is, what your support cycle should look like, what your bedtime routine needs to be, and really dive into the specifics and customize it specifically for you and your family. I really hope that this helps to bridge a gap in our community and helps us to all be able to start getting more than a couple hours of sleep at night because we just we need some rest because mama is tired. Join me over on Instagram at ASDMama1017 for more tips on sleep all month long. All of February, our theme is For the Love of Sleep, and that's what we're going to be talking about over there in our short form content. Stay tuned because later on this month, we're also going to have a meet and greet with a speech therapist, something that you guys have been requesting for a really long time. If you have questions about the sleep training program, make sure to drop those down below. And then if there's any specific questions that you want me to write down so we have that conversation with the speech therapist later this month, please drop those in the comments too so that I know. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay strong out there, mamas.